Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt, and welcome back to Farlands or Bust. This is episode 742 of the series. 700. Well, that's a weird, glitchy old chicken, wasn't it? 742 of the series for your Tuesday. Oh, I keep hitting E. I have to change that. If I change that in Farlands or Bust, I think it'll make it easier in Mindcrack. Sorry, this episode's 742, and it's coming to you on Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, being recorded live on Monday on Twitch. Is this the same? Yeah, this is all the same. People were speculating in the comments of the last YouTube video that the jitter rolled over again. Excuse me, sir. It did not. It did not. But we're gonna continue. What am I doing here? Flint! Cobble! See you later. Buck, buck, buck. Continue west towards those far lands here in Minecraft Beta 173. And continue raising money for Direct Relief Charity at farlandsorbust.com. We are up to $25,825.33. Do appreciate the generosity. And of course, I checked just before we started walking, the world save of this Farlands or Bust world is 27,577.6 megabytes. That number keeps going up. That's the number we're gonna try to, you gotta touch it. You gotta touch on it with the donations. I know the goal on the website says 50,000. But in the last episode, I came up with the idea that maybe the donation goal should be the size of the world save. Therefore, it keeps growing larger and larger as I continue walking further and further. Therefore, it has to be matched and or beat as kind of a new sort of way to measure the goal for charity donations. I think it's a neat idea. I think it's a fantastic idea, and you can't convince me otherwise. I am set in my ways, and there will be no flaws that can be explained to me about it. No flaws, flawless, I say. I was also thinking, I know, listen, this is going to come as a shock, but I'm bad at time management. That's just funny to me. If it isn't, it'll just be too sad. But I was thinking, and I was talking in my most recent Patreon vlog, and also yesterday during the stream, how I feel like I'm in a video game rut where there hasn't been anything that has caught my, not only just my attention. I mean, there's been games that we've enjoyed, but they've been short. So they've been like, oh, that was a good stream. Now I have to search for something else, like Draugen, or you know, whatever little indie games we find that only last like 3 or 4 hours, as opposed to, say, that month or two we spent with Astroneer, or playing through the Tomb Raider series, the classic ones, or I'm sure there are other examples. Tabs. We had so much fun with Tabs. Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, SimCity. You know what I'm talking about. So I've been feeling in a bit of a rut. I tried to play The Hunter, and that just dug me further into the rut. It was not as fun as I had hoped it would be. So I've been thinking about like things to do on stream. We returned to the Mindcrack server, and I'm trying to do what minimal things I can on there without getting too invested or whatever in all the new Minecraft ideas. What's the word I'm looking for? Not ideas. Your tail's a little bit low. What's the word I'm looking for? Changes, updates, things they've added, fluff. But I've been thinking then about Far Lands or Bust. Mechanics! See, Cone Dodger knows. Uh, I've been thinking about, like, what I can do. And, like, specifically, there's Far Lands or Bust, obviously. On YouTube, it has beyond all reason or whatever, I can't figure it out, I'm not going to question it, has started to get a lot more views again. And that's great, and I appreciate everybody finding it and checking it out and whatever. I don't know if those are all like unique views, like from episode to episode, or people are actually like coming back and watching episodes in a row. And I would like to do more with it, and this came in response. This came as an idea in response to the megabytes versus money bytes donated to charity. In order for me to keep that number rising, Cone suggested this before in my last gaming rut that I was in. It happens about 2 or 3 times a year. In the last gaming rut, where he's like, what about, you did like stream a day, you just sort of did a stream a day in March of 2016, 17, 16, one of those years. What about Far Lands or Bust a day? And I've always shied away from that because of the production that I put into it. And I'm not saying that I spend hours editing or doing fancy things or whatever or to it, but all of the episodes, all the past 742 episodes, have had, you know, when I'm recording here on Twitch, I turn off all of my alerts. I don't have a face cam or anything, or pop-ups or stuff like that. I have my little sort of script outline with the questions from donors, and you know what date it is and episode it is and how much money we've raised. So that's the reason I've always shied away from it. But then I thought, well, why does that need to be that way? Why can't, like, maybe, sure, I don't want to have my Twitch subscribers or bits or those sorts of alerts, but what if I just have the donation alerts go on the screen, like the donations to Direct Relief? That I can have, and then with those donations, y'all could ask questions, include your questions to be answered, like, live, right there, during the stream, instead of me copying and pasting them and doing it after the fact. Kind of have like little miniature Mike Rose tiny little flobathons, but for each episode, and then just upload that. Maybe even forget about doing the title screen and the outro to YouTube, but just upload them as they are. Dang it, I keep hitting E now. This is really a problem. This is truly the most disastrous thing that has ever befallen us, is them not allowing us to have tab be our inventory screen in the current Minecrafts. So yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about that. I don't know, like, again, it would be interesting to say, oh, let's do a flob a day. But I can't, my time management, as was previously explained, is not great, and I can't dedicate, like, I would never be able to do like a stream a day like Fedrin and Co do, just because it's like, well, what if I want to do this, or go on a hike, or what if I want to take a weekend trip, you know, or this comes up, or all sorts of things. What if my family comes to visit? I don't have anything planned out like more than a week in advance usually, so things change all the time. But yeah, so I was thinking about that. I'm not saying it's 100% I'm gonna do it. And also, like, the other thing is like, oh, I miss a day, and then like everybody will, you know, flip tables and say, oh, you failed. I don't want it to be too. Basically, what I'm saying is that it would be interesting to try, but have it be like a relaxed version of Far Lands or Bust. The only question I have is how would I then handle the podcast if it becomes like Far Lands or Bust Live, and there's alerts and I'm more interactive with chat, donation alerts. Would that affect the, I say quality of the podcast, but the way the podcast works for podcast listeners? And would I be able to keep up with uploading a podcast a day? Get that pig. There you go. Get that pig. Cone Dodger has some ideas related to that. We shall discuss them off business hours. But yeah, so that, I don't know, that idea was just struck me in my brain place. So I'll be considering that more and more. Certainly as we get closer and closer, hopefully, to matching the donation amount with the megabyte amount. And let's go to sleep. And awakeness. And awakeness. Indeed. Indeed. Yeah, I'm not sure, like, yeah, if I would even bother editing the episodes, or I can just like, I use the Twitch highlighter and then just exporter to YouTube with the other let's plays, the other gameplay footage I do on Twitch and then upload to YouTube. Like, what if I just did that for each episode? If it becomes like a daily thing or a 5 times a week thing, instead of having to, as I currently am, simultaneously record and then put into Premiere and render and edit and upload to YouTube. What would be the bad thing about that? I don't know. Probably nothing. It's just I'm resistant to change. I feel like obviously with the YouTube views, the Far Lands or Bust recipe that I'm currently using is working and has been working for the past 8+ years. But maybe that sort of, I'm talking about being in a rut. Maybe it's time to shake things up even with Far Lands of Bust a little bit. Oh, the blasphemousness, the blasphemes. so many fames have been blasted, even considering such things as these. But anyway, I'm just a chum bucket full of ideas, looking for an ocean. Woo, that's a image. So yeah, we are continuing on, and like I said, continuing raising money and taking questions from those donors who donate the money. Like Jack here, Jack LTTP says, in the wake of Zeldathon, wake, get it? There's another oceanic imagery, a simile, and what's the word? The opposite of a simile. Not the opposite, but similar to a simile, but less direct. A metaphor. Thank you. No, metaphor isn't even the right word. There's similes, synonyms. No, maybe metaphor was the one I was looking for. But yeah, I talked about a chum bucket and water, and now we're talking about a wake, like a boat wake. Analogy. There you go, Rocket Whale. Analogy. That was the one. In the wake of Zeldathon, I have the charity bug. My question is, what is the most irritating repair you've done on the Corolla? Well, thank you for the donation, Jack. The most irritating repair I have done on the Corolla. All of the things have been irritating to me, to be honest. Cone knows. I'm curious to know what you think. Like, then that's the reason why I don't do a garage stream or garage vlogs, is because, like, while I enjoy finishing the work and then like being like, I did it. While I enjoy it as a hobby, it does take me a long time, and it does take me a lot of patience and frustration and arms being thrown in the air and bolts being sheared off. There's probably like 4 or 5 sheared bolt heads on that car now. And I don't feel like that would that's not something I want to relive in vlog form. The rear end drain plug. Rear end drain plug. Oh, like that I should take it out? Yeah, I was like, there's, in the trunk, there's little drain plugs. And they're missing. Should I replace those? And Cone and ZK are like, no! Oh, the differential. I thought you meant the actual rubber drain plugs in the in the spare tire well. Well, that, yeah. When I wanted to change the rear diff fluid, I could not get the, it was the fill plug. I couldn't get the fill plug off. And I'm reliving that experience now. Like, I had to like go out and dedicatedly buy a breaker bar to finally get it to do it. I'm reliving that now with the transmission fluid, oil. The fill bolt will not, it just won't do it. It will not budge. And it's even more difficult because there's no space for a breaker bar to get under there. So that, I just hope there's enough transmission oil, and I hope it's like good for stuff, and it works. It seems to be, but I wanted to check it out, and I can't. So yeah, I've pulled many a muscle and hurt many a wrist, and well, obviously the most annoying thing was probably the carburetor. I wasn't expecting to need to do that, and I troubleshooted it for a very long time before finally deciding to buy the whole brand new Weber carburetor and tear out all the smog stuff. That was frustrating and scary because it's like, ooh, like this is, okay, I'm replacing the lungs of the car. I sure hope I don't mess it up. like I'm like, I want to learn how to work on cars. No, not like that, please. Not that much work. But yeah, it worked, and I'm happy with it now. What else was when I was changing out the wheels, I bought the new wheels, and then one of the, like, I think it was like the left rear was absolutely fused onto the drum brake, and like that was like, oh well, I spent $300 on these new wheels, can't use them because this one is never going to come off. And then so yeah, like everything was frustrating. There was and I think that's just the way it is. I don't think irritating repair. Yeah, there's just irritating parts. Like there's the irritating. There was another stuck bolt. The roll bar, the front roll bar, stabilizer bar bushing link on one of the sides. I just had to bust out the Dremel and just absolutely hack it to pieces in order to get it off. And you know what was probably the most irritating, honestly, was the tachometer install. Because I chose to do that. I brought that upon myself. The other stuff was like, oh, this is something that needs to be done, and you should do it, and this is the way to do it. Many other people have done it. The tachometer install, I couldn't have been like, I'm fine without a tach. I couldn't have been like, okay, let's just drill it onto the top of the dashboard or the steering column or whatever. I had to be, no, I want to hidden flush, sneaky mount it into this pre-existing hole for what would have been an optional clock, and I'm not at all prepared for any sort of fabrication or anything like that, and just like finding the parts and hacking things off and look, yeah, that was just frustrating. Like that, I had to buy a Dremel for that job specifically. So yeah, that was personally frustrating because I did it to myself. I brought it upon myself. A torch? I don't have a torch. Yeah, everybody's saying like, oh, you should heat up the bolt on the transmission to get it unstuck. I don't have any fire production devices on me. I'm like, I don't know if like maybe I should like drive it around for a while and then bring it back and it'll be nice and warm up. Will it pop open? I just need to get it up on a lift. I can't get it up high enough in order to get leverage for the breaker bar. But yeah, I think that might answer it. Every repair is the most annoying repair. Oh, buddy. But it's like it's great now. It's doing great. It's doing great. I fixed the little dangly broken bracket that came off of the exhausts. Put that where it's supposed to be and tightened it, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. So that's, yeah, the Corolla's doing great. The SVX, on the other hand, no, I mean, that one actually, like I said, I drove it the last few days. I just did some errands in it for the fun of it. And the radiator patch is holding. But that doesn't matter because I have a replacement one on the way that is hopefully in good shape. And hopefully shouldn't be that big of a deal to replace on my own because I really have no money to pay somebody else to do it. I'm all out of the monies. The money is gone. It has disappeared in the form of a 23-year-old car. Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. We had a lot of ramblies about that. Let's go to sleep and continue ramblies in the morning. And awakeness. Oh, Juno, chill out. And continuing on. Gex, with their donation, asks, I don't know if you've answered this before. I probably have. But what is the coolest place you've ever been to? Again, asking me to find like my favorite this, that, or the other is a difficult thing, so I'll have a list for you. Obviously, like a place like Kennedy Space Center, JPL, those are very cool places to go. Seeing the launch of Juno at Kennedy Space Center, not seeing the launch of 3 space shuttles that I went down there to watch launch. Very cool. So, yeah, that place is a very cool place. The kind of like in terms of nature, I've talked a lot about White Sands, New Mexico. That's just like an alien place. And I feel like if I ever get out to like the Bonneville Salt Flats or something like that, like another one of these just like middle of nowhere sort of like, this is strange. This is like not Earth planet that I'm on. That sort of stuff I really enjoy and is just kind of neat. But yeah, I really like the White Sands area. It was just like being on the moon, as close as I can imagine. I could, well, coolest place. Oh, I mean, taking the tour of the SpaceX factory in LA during that one Minecon there with Good and Sevidus and Zisto and who else came? Michael came with. That wasn't even intentional. That was not even intentional, but it happened, so we're just gonna forget about it. That was a cool place. That was the sort of thing, like, I've said this before, it was very reminiscent of like a Star Trek movie or, you know, where they're building the Enterprise in the hangar and there's like sparks flying and little carts going around with parts and things and engines just sitting on the ground. It felt very much like that. Like I was in a sci-fi movie and they're building a spaceship. They were actually building spaceships, and that was actually the truth of what was taking place, and they were all laid out in front of me. And we saw the nose cones that had just been made for the first Falcon Heavy launch. I don't know if those are getting reused or not. They might be the reused ones. But yeah, they had just fabricated the nose cones for the side boosters. So yeah, been to a lot of cool places, I think. So it's hard to really say this was the coolest place. If there was anything like that, I would probably try to get back to it as often as possible. And I don't do frequent, like, I don't like visit the same place over and over and over again. I try to diversify my explorations. But yeah, thank you very much, Gex, for the donation. TDW fan with another very generous donation asks, around what age does a person stop being just a kid and is seen as a grown person? I'm 23, a wee lad. I'm just going to make the problem worse. I'm 23 and most people still see me as a kid. How would you feel about, what? How do you feel about the dentist? These are separate questions. Any memorable experiences about the dentist? No, I still feel like a kid. Obviously that feeling is more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's more prominent when I'm like back home, like around my parents or the town where I grew up. That very much makes me kind of retreat, I guess, back into the kid, the child sort of mode. Start sucking my thumb when I'm sleeping and wetting the bed. No. So yeah, but even like, yeah, I don't know how people feel like they're adults ever. Like, even considering how, like, oh, you know, when my parents had me, like, my dad was 27, I think. So, like, at my age, I would have been 10 years old. I could not in a billion years in my current state, or any future state, like, even see, like, having a 10-year-old human being responsible for. That would, yeah, no, that doesn't feel right at all. So yeah, I don't know how. I suppose it comes with a level of maybe self-confidence or maybe even ego, where, well, I'm a grown-up adult. I don't need any more. I should stop murdering pigs. I think I have enough Wolfie treats. It's just compulsion at this point. So yeah, and just by the by, 23. That's, I think, even though that the age changes throughout history. Like, oh, when you're 23, back in the 50s, that's when you have like your third kid, and you bought your first house with cash for $6,000, and it's a 4-bedroom. Have a couple of cars in the garage. Yeah, that the quote-unquote, like, the adulthood border? I don't want to call it border, it's more of a foggy haze. Changes as generations go on, depending on culture and society and whatever. But yeah, I mean, yeah, and then it's just based on person to person. I don't know that you'll ever. I certainly don't, like I said right now, I don't know that you'll ever lose that kind of feeling, depending, like I said, on your own personal personality and experiences, and perhaps the people you surround yourself with. I'm sure if I worked in an industry that was like accounting, or you know, a job that is quote unquote more adult, I guess. It's just a different communities and cultures surrounding each little corner of the world, I guess. I don't know. I'm again rambling now, but it's hard to put my finger on. But I certainly don't. I don't feel like a little kid, but I don't feel. I don't. Here it is. It's perception. I don't feel like what I thought grown-ups felt like when I was a kid. Like when I looked up to grown-ups, like parents, grandparents, uncles, whatever, teachers. And I don't think I ever will, because maybe they didn't at the time either, probably, hopefully, or else there's something very wrong. But yeah. How do you feel about the dentist? We're just talking about the dentist. Not with you, but in my real life, was just talking about dentists. I haven't been in a very long time. I haven't been since I lived in Illinois, just because I moved and never had dental insurance. Yeah. There's something that'll make you feel like an adult. Insurance. I don't have bad feelings about the dentist. I had a lot of bad stuff happen, but it was all related to orthodontistry, braces for 6 or so years I had, and headgear, and tightening of metal and broken things, ripping apart your gums and lips. That's where my sort of bad feelings come. I know there's very much dentist anxiety is very much a thing in people. I've never had that problem, despite having as a child a dentist who he himself had green teeth, and very conveniently, I think for his budget, myself and my 2 sisters all had our first cavities at the same exact time and wanted us to all come in to get them fixed all at the same time. That was mildly traumatic, but I feel like I've blanked that out for good reason. Well, no, yeah, the dentist, the normal dentist, the only thing I didn't like, and I think it's mostly gone away now that they've switched, at least my last place I was at 5 years ago, they switched to digital x-rays. But back in the analog days, do I have enough bed stuff? I could use a tree. They used to have to stick that piece of cardboard into the back of your throat, up against your cheek, and that would always give me a gag reflex, and that was very uncomfortable. I never puked, but it certainly felt like I was about to. That I hated a lot. But yeah, most of my bad jujus comes from orthodontists, and I will never, I got, my teeth as they are. They needed fixing. They definitely needed fixing at the time, but they don't need it anymore. I don't care about the little gap between my teeth or that isn't exactly aligned. It's fine. Perfectly fine. It would all just be cosmetic at this point. It's fine. I'd never have to deal with an orthodontist ever again. Hallelujah to that, I say. Hallelujah. Yeah. And I think I've, throughout the Far Lands of Bust years, I've told a few stories about orthodontistry. Getting hit in the face with a basketball in gym class and having it shred my inner lip. Going into the nurse's office with blood trickling down my face. Good times. Great, great times. Great times had by all. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this episode of Far Lands of Bust. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Let me do what I need to do. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, da, da, da. I have too many of these wolfie bones. I don't have enough space for even a boat. Place the bed. Let's not accidentally sleep in it. Boop. And yeah, remind everybody, farlandsorbust.com. You can please continue donating to Direct Relief Charity, a great cause. They're getting medical supplies, equipment, emergency response to communities all around the world. You can learn more about them at directrelief.org. And like I said, right now, Who knows what it is at the end, but it's probably past 27,600 megabytes, maybe. Got to catch up with those donations. Got to catch up. Certainly, if I make into fruition this idea of doing kind of a Flabba-Day thing, got to catch up. And then when you do, is when we press F3 finally after a Flobathon. So I do appreciate it, and all your questions and topics, and allowing me to ramble. My name is Kurt. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time. Get that pig.